So yesterday, Dizzy Arts or Desi Arts, that's Dezzie Arts, aka Michelle, released Part 11, Part 2 in the third annual yearly Melting May story series that she's doing called Melting Me, which she's actually now created a folder. So I will link that folder in the description so you guys can check it out. But she released Part 11 in the overall series, Part 2 for the third season, as I call it, or look at it. As well as days before, she released the 261st chapter / shift in Metamorphosed to Malleability. Now, if I said 259 or listed it as that previously in the descriptions, in the titles, the last time I reviewed it, that's my apologies. That was actually 260. But yeah, she did release 261. And she entitled it Exhausting Evenings. And we're going to get into that one first because it's not that long. And then we'll get into Me, Part 11 of the overall series, which is essentially Part 2 of the third year of the series. And yeah, things are starting to develop there as well. So as far as Metamorphosed to Malleability, chapter 261 / shift 261 called Exhausting Evenings. We're not too sure. I don't think it has yet, happened. Basically her calling up the series Genesis and, this certain lady and Duncan and Greta and all of them and letting them know her decision, basically becoming a senior researcher or not. Because again, as I mentioned in the previous reviews, she has let it be known that if they require some kind of a, DNA sample or anything from her, as I drink some coffee here, but like I said, if they require a DNA or something from her, that she's going to reject the offer. She's going to reject the offer. But she seems to be more determined that, yeah, she is going to take the offer, but also she's going to want to make sure that they don't need any, extra, curricular things, if you know what I mean, fluids or whatever. So she basically spends, I think, the evening before, or I don't know if it happened already. Again, we'll find out probably this week, or more than likely this week. She basically spends the evening posing a bit of it, posing a bit as a laptop. Basically, I don't know if she shapeshifted into the laptop. I don't think she did. I think she just covered it, to be part of it to help her fiance Crystal out. And she does that, and it kind of exhausts her a little bit because what she's been doing in the previous, the previous chapters / shifts is she's been, enhancing her powers. She's been developing and growing her powers to, see what else she's capable of doing, like from from doing like some kind of mass storage or semi-mass storage inside of her, where she would have to, place certain things or at least have a little area inside of her to walk about or, relax or whatever. To the point, that she's also, as we've seen in the, possible past year, she's developed, a hankering, believe it or not, a hankering to want to envelop her fiance as her clothing or outfit, just for the, just for a little fun, mischievous NFSWs or whatever. And that's about it. So she's, trying out all these new shapes, trying to grow, trying to see how much her powers have grown and everything. And it's just, to me, the part 11 here, or not part 11, but 261, if you will, Exhausting Evenings, it's basically a filler. It does kind of touch upon what's going on. But she's more, like I said, trying to develop and grow her powers to see what else she can do and stuff. And let's just say they do have a bit of naughty fun, not to the extreme that they're known to do, or Michelle's been known to write them to do in future, previous chapters / shift, and potentially very soon future chapter and shifts. But, they do have a little bit of naughty fun. She does envelop her a little bit in an outfit, kind of very reminiscent of the one she did in the previous one, a snake-like outfit, snake woman-like outfit. Even to the point that she kind of becomes like a little snake herself. And after they've had dinner, they've had dessert and everything, she decides to coil up in a certain private region, on the bottom half of her fiance. And let's just say she not only coils up in there like a little slimy, slithery snake, trying to rest, but she also changes her tail into that of a rattle's tail, like a rattlesnake. But it almost feels like what they're describing is that when she kind of enters into this region, of her fiance, this bottom region, private bottom region, if you will, of her fiance, that the way it's being described, and maybe it's just me, but the way I'm reading it and the way it's described, it seems like she, not only pokes out, the tail and everything, from that area, from the opening in that private region, if you know what I mean. But it's almost like she's now kind of developing the fact that she can become an extension of her fiance's own body in a way. Like she can become an extension. Not saying that's what's going on, but it feels like from what I read in this recent chapter/shift that that's the direction they're going in. That she seems to be not only growing her powers to see what other shapes and things she can do, and also split herself into multiple, pieces to, do certain things and even role play and act out things just in case of certain scenarios, like she did a couple of chapters/shifts ago. But it seems that now she's starting to realize that it's more than just her DNA and everything that's probably changed, that it's her overall structure in and out, and that now it seems that when she, kind of rests herself inside, certain regional parts of her fiance, whether it's the upper region, bosom, if you will, of her fiance, or the bottom private region, if you will, that, she can now not only rest in there or rest in those areas, but she can also, in a sense, enhance them. In other words, she can, expand herself within, and enhance the curves, and everything, the curves and, the curves and all that of her fiance to very sexual, seductive, like me, ways, I should say. Basically make them look more attractive and stuff by adding to her fiance's mass, if just temporarily. So it seems that looks like, from what I read, that's the new development in her powers, and that might be a direction they explore. Michelle, that is, explores in future chapters and shifts as we go along. But overall, chapter 261, chapter/shift 261, Exhausting Evenings, again was okay. Just a bit of filler and everything to, get us ready for the next story or the next part in the series that might, explore more of what's going on, with Briella, Series Genesis, and and what the entire intentions are of, in the process of her being a senior researcher, what they may or may not need, and everything, as well as trying to finally figure out basically who is behind the Dr. Zettweimer, the Dr. Zettweimer's intentions when he tried to get the power for himself and everything. Like they're trying to, basically still trying to figure out, who are these senior researchers that, whether or not they are guilty for what they did, why did they do it? What was their intentions and stuff like that. And of course, I still stick with the fact that, I believe, honestly, I believe, as I check something here, guys, I believe that there's a lot more going on here. Like, as I've mentioned, I believe her best friend, Alanye, fiance might have something to do with it. Her boyfriend, fiance may have something to do with it. I don't know why, but again, it always feels, very suspicious, to me that, Alania, Briella's best friend, would keep her and her powers a secret from someone that obviously it sounds like she could trust, but not trust enough to where she could say, hey, see, I want to show you what my best friend can do and stuff like that. So there's something more going on. There's something more going on, and hopefully, we'll get an answer to that. Because again, I still feel like, honestly, he has something to do with this. He has some kind of connection. Also, I feel we're going to see the other Alpha Omega, if you will, show back up in the near future. When that might happen, I don't know. It might happen a lot sooner. Maybe they show up and prevent her from maybe making the deal as a senior researcher and exposing maybe this other lady that, knows things that even surprises the Duncan character, what she knows because he didn't know about it and he's supposed to be in on the nose and all that. So, that might be when it happens. We're not sure. And I also still believe Crystal, as a result, is going to have similar, if not identical, powers given to her before it's all said and done. I really do. Because to me, it seems to be lending itself, with its hints here and there, that might be the direction where, where the overall story goes to when it comes to an end, whenever that might be. Because I know we're getting close to not only the fur convention arc, if they're still going to do that, and everything, but I know we're getting closer to the wedding part. It's just going to take time. And I've got a feeling that might either happen around the 275th chapter, which is about 2 weeks, which is basically 2 months. Well, is it 2 months from now? No, it's actually 14 weeks from now. I'll put it that way, 14 weeks from now. Or 14 weeks this past Thursday. So I know that's coming around the corner in August, from what I understand. And whether or not they do the wedding then, or they wait 25 more weeks to the beginning of the year next year to do it, we'll see what Michelle has, we'll see what she has, in mind, what she has planned and stuff. But yeah, I still believe Crystal, somehow, either as a gift from Briella, or maybe, something happens to her, she gains similar, if not identical, powers. And like I said, as we get closer to the end and everything, that, that's when, not only will we see probably the wedding, but we'll also see them getting into some very gooey, shape-shifting, malleability, NFSW erotic fun, possibly to close out the story. Not saying that's going to happen, but it, is something to look out for. But overall, like I said, this is just a filler part, and it did a good job. There's no doubt, and I'm just looking forward to what she has in store this Thursday. Now, I do apologize if I paused there for a second. I was looking at something outside the window and everything, but there was nothing there. But again, I do suggest checking out this chapter. Again, I'll provide the links down below to this one, as well as to the next one I'm going to talk about, which is Melting Me-I, that's M-E-I, Melting Me-I, part 11 of the overall series, which is also part 2 of the 3rd season. So now on to that review. So now let's talk about Melting Me-I, part 11, which is, of the overall series, but part 2 of the 3rd season, the 3rd year installment of the series. Let's talk about that. Now, as I've mentioned before, excuse me. Sorry about that, but like I said, as I mentioned last year when I reviewed part 9, which was a sneak peek into this year, as well as kind of did the recap for it a week ago, we're getting a little bit of story developed into the series. It's to where it's more than just, okay, the girls are getting all gooey and having, erotic NFSW fun and stuff like that. We're getting some story developed. And the story basically is the story plot, the subplot, if you will, is centering around this Lindsay lady who is basically like the, be-all, end-all of owning all masseuse, massage, spa-like businesses and everything. And Lindsay is determined to own a part, if not own completely, Zahara's ultimate bliss business. because of this new mud bath elixir that customers get to soak in, and really just get not only relaxation out of, but get some pleasure given to them as well, unexpectedly, because unbeknownst to them, the mud bath elixir that they're soaking in is Mei herself, the one that first gained these powers a couple of years ago when this series began. Now, with that said, though, as I mentioned in the sneak peek and everything, basically this Lindsay lady wants to, have a piece of the action, or she wants the whole pie, basically. And Zahara is one of the more reclusive, I guess you could say, what's the word I'm looking for? Reclusive people that are not going to let her have a piece of that. Like, she's not going to do business, at all with Lindsay, because she knows exactly what will happen, or she has a feeling. So Lindsay, this CEO lady, this owner, if you will, is determined to find out what the secret is so she can mass produce it herself. So what she does is she hires on this Elizabeth girl, who's kind of like a shapeshifter, kind of. It seems like that. That's what's going on. She's sort of like a shapeshifter, but she's more a master of disguise and all that. To where she's able to disguise herself, her facial features and everything, to be undetected. So she hires this Elizabeth girl who obviously had a relationship with her, I think her uncle, who it sounds like had a good heart and wants her to do the right thing. But, obviously she's doing what she has to do, as she would put it, as the right thing to provide a good living for herself by being basically someone to, be, hired to do certain jobs and everything, even if they're wrong or not. So basically, in the last chapter, she disguises herself as a client named Courtney to go and get this treatment, the massage, spa treatment and all that, as well as soak in the bath. But while she's doing this, and basically Mei is, being the bath, Courtney, Elizabeth, if you will, Elizabeth is disguised as Courtney, tries to, as she's feeling that pleasurable part happening that Mei would do, unsuspectedly, she kind of not only experiences it, but then realizes that's the signal she needs to try to scoop up a bit of the stuff, the elixir, the fluid, to try to take back to Lindsay so that Lindsay can not only try to figure out what it is and replicate it, but also mass produce it, and take credit. And Elizabeth Courtney is unsuccessful, and Mei basically, after she leaves, that being Courtney Elizabeth, lets Zahara know what's going on. And it's indicated in the last chapter that Elizabeth has been doing this constantly in the disguise of many other people. So after Mei ensures Zahara, hey, nothing's going to happen because there's no way they'd be able to get me or stuff like that, she decides to have a little pleasurable fun, both of them, at the end, basically also kind of finally getting Zahara to learn how to, separate in a very unique way. And then that's basically the end of the 10th part, which was last week, the first part of the third year, if you will, of the series. So anyway, she, so basically, Mei, obviously wants to know, as well as Zahara wants to know, what is going on here, right? But like I said, after she kind of, explains to her what this Courtney Elizabeth tried to do, and Zahara informs her, and as well as us, the readers, that it's, like the fourth, fifth time this has happened, indicating that Elizabeth has been doing this in disguise of everybody else. As I mentioned, Mei ensures her, or reinsures her, don't worry, nothing's going to happen. And then basically, they decided to get all gooey and snakily gooey and everything, and just end the chapter by exploding into tethered bits, all over the place before the next appointment arrives. So where does part 11 leave off, you might ask, or start off? Well, basically, it starts off with Elizabeth trying to sneak into ultimate bliss, I think while it's closed or before it's opening, only to be caught by Mei, who's been hiding in plain sight. She's hiding either in the pool itself, or she's hiding in one of the containers because they knew something was up. Well, she knew Elizabeth Courtney would be back to try to get more samples, and she ends up capturing her. She ends up catching her in the act, even revealing the fact that, hey, I know who you really are. What are you doing? Why are you doing it? She just wants to know. She wants a straight answer. And Elizabeth tries to basically come up with an excuse saying, I don't know. I'm not working for anybody. I just want more. I just can't take, I just got so addicted. I need more. She's trying to come up with excuses. But, Mia is not buying it and everything. So she decides, okay, there's only one way I'm going to be able to get you to admit the truth. And what she does is she takes a bit of the elixir, the lotion, or whatever you want to call it, that gave him the powers, and she puts a tiny bit in, not all of it, but a tiny bit, into Elizabeth. And Elizabeth basically starts experiencing what Mia and Zahara first experienced when they took the elixir, and literally she just melts down into a puddle of goop. She blacks out, melts down, and everything. And what Mia does is she places her in a little kettle pot, a cooking pot, or whatever, and basically Elizabeth wakes up, in her gooey form, and everything, unbeknownst to her that she is in a form of gooiness until the end. But she sees Zahara and Mia, talking almost, not like a full-on argument, but kind of like disagreement argument kind of deal, or back and forth, like, okay, what do we do? How do we do this? And, they're both determined to figure out or find out what's going on and why Elizabeth is doing this. So, when they do approach her and they're asking, okay, what do you know? Who sent you? And Elizabeth, again, she's trying to come up with an excuse of, nobody sent me. I don't know what you're talking about. Nobody sent me. I just got addicted. She's trying to use the same excuse, but it's not working. So Mia decides, okay, there is one way to get you to tell me the truth or get information out of you. And what she does is she proceeds to open up the container that has the liquefied Elizabeth in there and basically, dump her into her mouth. Basically, she swallows her and everything whole to the point that Elizabeth ends up in what could be described as Mia's stomach. And Mia can, obviously her powers have developed a little bit further than Zahara's, but Zahara's is close to getting there as well. She's trying to communicate with her and ask, look, what do you know? Who sent you? Please just tell us. And no, basically she's telling her, look, we're not going to harm you. We just want to know why you're doing this. And obviously she can send like little signals, to the person inside of her that, hey, I don't mean no ill intent. I just want to know, me and my friend just want to know what you're doing. Who sent you? And Elizabeth is like, I can't say, she's basically trying to find a way out of it, but she can't. So Mia is like, okay, I didn't want to do this, so I'll figure it out myself. And what she does is, I guess she uses the insides, it's like little, tentacles, if you will, to connect to the gooiness that Elizabeth is, the blob that she is. And she's able to find out information that way. And she finds out basically that it's the Lindsay lady that sent Elizabeth. Elizabeth got sent by the Lindsay lady. And then afterwards, she gets extracted, or Mia extracts Elizabeth out of her, back into a container, another container. And then she tells Zahara, okay, I got the information. We need to go talk in another room. So that way Elizabeth doesn't hear what they're going to talk about or what the solution will come up with. And Elizabeth, is still reeling from this experience, but also starts to kind of, feel not just, very reeling from it, but also basically she's kind of getting some pleasure out of it a little bit. It's like she's, finding out that, hey, this is a weird situation I'm in, but it actually kind of feels good. So when she tries to look around, she can look a little bit, she tries to, I guess, try to press against the top of the pressure cooker. I think that's what they put her in, and everything with a hand. She figures out, she sees that it's not a hand she's pushing out with, but a tendril. And she's like, okay, that's not going to work. And then she sees that if she thinks about it, she can, change it into a hand, and it becomes a hand. And she's impressed by this, and she's like, you know what? Maybe there's a way I could still stay on top. In other words, basically, I don't know if she means either stay on top and get information, or stay on top and, stay on top and still get free masseuse, not masseuse, but free massage, spa treatments, if she can convince them to let her join them. And that's basically where that ends, where she sees what this power temporarily that she has is giving her, and she's like, there's some positives to this. This might be hey, there's some positives to this, and they didn't mean no harm. They didn't do anything harmful to me. They didn't mean any ill intent. They just wanted information. And she's starting to think, this might be something beneficial for me to stay on top and everything. Maybe if I convince them to let me join their side, I could reap the benefits. Like, in other words, not only could she, take part in this and everything and stay, at the top of her profession, as well as stay on top, in life, but also, like I said, get some free spa treatments and all that. So, at the end of the day, it's a decent chapter. It's, a decent part, if you will. I like the fact that we're getting development with this subplot, when it comes to Lindsay. Now, the question obviously is, going into the last couple of parts, which seem to be coming out every Monday. Part 10, the first part of this year came out last Monday. Part 11, late last night. And part 12, obviously, is going to be coming basically on the 15th. And then part 9th, then part 13 should be coming on like the 22nd. And then I'm assuming, unless she just ends it right there and not give us a sneak peek like she did last year for the 2024 season, we can assume that either part 13 will be the final one, or part 14 on the 29th or 30th will be the last one, or even sooner. We'll see. And again, I'm not sure if she'll give us a sneak peek overall. But yeah, this is actually good to see a little bit of story development. Obviously, it shows that Mihai and Zahara are not meaning any harm towards Elizabeth, and they just want to know, why are you doing this? Who sent you? Why do you keep trying to steal me and everything? What's going on? And it does look like that Elizabeth is going to be the third wheel, or the third part of Ultimate Bliss, and we might get ourselves a three-way fusion, if not a three-way, I guess you could say, romantic lesbian relationship between the ladies. That's obviously what it looks like it's heading towards. But Michelle could surprise us and not do that, but we'll see. We shall see. But overall, yeah, good development for the story, and we'll see what happens from here. But it does look like apparently it is going to lead towards these three ladies coming together, not just as business partners, but as friends, if not more than friends. And overall, that's all I can really say on both, the 261st chapter / shift of Metamorphosed to Malleability, and part 11 of the overall Melting Me Eye series, part 2, the third season of it, if you will. And I do highly recommend checking them both out. Like I said, Melting Me Eye has her own folder now, so I'll put that in the link. You guys could check it out to catch up with it. And Metamorphosed to Malleability, of course, has its own folder. I'll put that in there as well. But yeah, overall, so far so good. And again, if anybody's wondering why this Melting Me ideal is, once a year and all that, it's all to stay within the theme of what is known as melting May. So that's why it's being done. And again, we can only wonder and, be wonder. All we can really do is wonder and be curious, I should say, as to, what she has planned next, for this story and Metamorphosed Malleability. But that's really all I can say, guys. I do apologize if I, was all over the place here. It's early. It's 9:21. I've been doing this for a little over a half hour now. So, yeah, you kind of tell it's kind of wearing on me a bit. But, yeah, it's 9:21 in the morning Pacific time on this Tuesday, May 9th, I believe. Tuesday, May 9th. Yeah. So I do apologize. I was all over the place, but just wanted to get my thoughts out there for you, let you know, how I feel about these recent parts and chapters and everything of Michelle Dizzyart's very popular, probably more popular than anything, series that she's been doing. Let me know what your thoughts are, guys. Again, I will provide the description. Not the description, but I'll provide the folders, the links to the folders, the gallery folders at DeviantArt. In the description, so you guys can check that out for yourselves. I think you'll highly enjoy them. And also, if you want to help support me in this, in various different areas during this transitional change I've been going through for almost a month now, of not having work, the links are provided down below. It'd be greatly appreciated if you can do that. But guys, let me know what your thoughts are overall. And until next time, I will talk to you all later. But yeah, check out the stories by Michelle. More specifically these two. And I think you'll get a kick out of them. And until then, talk to you all later.